What if a single dollar flowing into your favorite crypto could explode its total value by hundreds of dollars overnight? Buckle up, because that's the wild reality of market cap multipliers, and it's about to reshape everything you know about XRP and Bitcoin. If you've ever wondered why small investments trigger massive price swings, stick around. I'm diving deep into real data that'll have you rethinking your portfolio strategy. Let's kick things off with the basics, but hear me out. This isn't your average crypto chat. We're talking institutional capital deployment at its finest. And more importantly, we're going to take a look at who is doing the math. We're not talking about anonymous bloggers. We're talking about the Bank for International Settlements, the literal central bank for the world's central banks. When an organization that conservative dedicates a 30-page research paper to a phenomenon, you pay attention. What they and other institutional giants have uncovered is a hidden engine in the crypto market, a force that explains why a single dollar of new investment can ignite a firestorm of value creation worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This is the secret behind the explosive moves you see that seem to defy logic. Today, I'm not just going to tell you about this multiplier. I'm going to take you on the same journey of discovery I went on. We'll start with the undeniable proof I found in the Bitcoin market using real data from the ETF boom. Then we'll dive into the institutional validation that blew my mind. And finally, we'll get to the main event, the shocking data I uncovered for XRP, which suggests a multiplier effect so powerful it could make Bitcoins look like a sparkler next to a supernova. This isn't just another price prediction video. This is a masterclass in the hidden physics of digital finance. Stick with me, because what you're about to see will change the way you look at your portfolio forever. So where do we start? We start with the king, Bitcoin. It's the most established, most liquid digital asset on the planet. If this multiplier effect exists, it has to show up here first. Before the spot Bitcoin ETFs launched in January 2024, the big banks were already running the numbers. A report from Bank of America caught my eye back in 2021. They projected an 8x multiplier. They argued that just $93 million in new capital could move Bitcoin's price by 1%. JP Morgan was more reserved, forecasting a 25x multiplier. But here's the kicker. We don't have to rely on forecasts anymore. We have a real-world laboratory. Look at what happened in the week ending July 13, 2025. A colossal $2.7 billion flooded into the U.S. spot Bitcoin ETFs. This wasn't a slow trickle. It was a fire hose of institutional capital deployment. What was the result? Bitcoin's price didn't just nudge up. It launched from around $111,800 to over $123,100. That single wave of capital expanded Bitcoin's total market cap with a force equivalent to a 74x multiplier. Let that sink in. For every dollar that went in, the market valued Bitcoin at $74 more. Imagine pouring a glass of water into a bathtub. The water level barely rises. Now imagine pouring that same glass into a narrow vase. That's the difference. And incredibly, this is happening with Bitcoin, an asset with a multi-trillion-dollar market cap. This was the first piece of hard evidence that made me realize this wasn't a fluke. It's a predictable, measurable force. And it led me to the next crucial question: why does this happen? The answer lies in the very structure of these markets. To understand the mechanics, we have to go to the source, the Bank for International Settlements working paper, The Crypto Multiplier. I spent a weekend poring over this document, and one concept stood out. The vast majority of crypto is not used for payments. It's held as an investment. The BIS found that over 75% of all Bitcoin and 60% of Ethereum are effectively inactive, locked away in wallets as a long-term store of value. This creates a massive imbalance. You have the entire market cap being valued on the price action of a tiny, actively traded slice. Think of it like a rare collector's car. There might be 100 in existence, valued at $1 million each, making for a $100 million total market value. But only 2 of them are actually for sale at any given time. If a new billionaire enters the market and pays $2 million for one of them because of the scarcity, what happens? Suddenly, all 100 cars are revalued at $2 million. The market cap just doubled to $200 million from a single $2 million transaction. That's a 50x multiplier right there. That is precisely what the BIS confirms is happening in crypto. The limited trading float means that even modest inflows of new capital cause disproportionately large price swings because they're chasing a very small number of available coins. The entire supply gets repriced based on the frantic action at the margins. This explains the insane volatility and why a single piece of news, a celebrity endorsement, a regulatory filing, can send prices rocketing or crashing. Seeing this laid out by the world's most credible financial institution was the final piece of the puzzle for me. It gave the theory an institutional-grade seal of approval. But here's where the story takes a wild turn. If this is the effect on Bitcoin, what happens when we apply it to an asset with even less liquidity? And just a heads up, this is your 30% mark reminder. The mega reveal is coming up. The exact documented multiplier numbers for XRP. What you've seen so far is just the appetizer. This is the part of my research journey where I had to double-check my own screen. I knew XRP had less liquidity than Bitcoin, so I expected a higher multiplier. But I was not prepared for what the data showed. I want to thank analysts like Zach Rector, who have been meticulously tracking these on-chain flows. Their work provided the raw data for this revelation.
Here are just a few real-world examples from 2025. In one instance, a net inflow of just $80 million, less than what a single hedge fund might allocate in an afternoon, was followed by a $17 billion surge in XRP's market cap. That's a 212x multiplier. But here's where it gets truly mind-bending. On April 12, 2025, a tiny inflow of $12.87 million was correlated with a $7.74 billion jump in market cap. My friends, that is a 601x multiplier. For every dollar that came in, the market cap screamed higher by $601. Another event in early June saw a $17 million inflow correspond with an $11 billion market cap increase, a 647x multiplier. These aren't cherry-picked outliers. Multipliers in the 200 to 650x range have been repeatedly observed for XRP. The implications are staggering. We are talking about an asset whose price is on a hair trigger, hyper-responsive to new capital in a way that is almost unprecedented. It means that the journey to higher valuations is, from a capital requirement standpoint, hundreds of times easier than for more liquid assets. So what do we do with this information? We build a model. Let's run a few scenarios based on these documented multipliers. What happens when the anticipated spot XRP ETFs finally open the floodgates to institutional capital? Take a deep breath. Scenario 1. A modest $10 billion inflow. Using a conservative 200x multiplier, that $10 billion would project an XRP price of $33.76. Using the documented 600x multiplier, we're looking at $101.28 per XRP. From an inflow that Bitcoin ETFs see in a couple of weeks. Scenario 2, a serious $50 billion inflow. At a 200x multiplier, the price targets $168.81. At a 600x multiplier, the projection is $506.42. Scenario 3, the institutional stampede, $100 billion inflow. With a 200x multiplier, we hit $337.61, and at a 600x multiplier, you're looking at a projection of $1,012.84 per XRP. Now you see how these numbers, which sound like fantasy, become grounded in a data-driven framework. I'm not saying this will happen overnight, but I am saying that the fuel required to launch this rocket is far, far less than anyone thinks. And this isn't happening in a bubble. These inflows are being drawn in by powerful global trends. The global migration to the ISO 2022 financial messaging standard, the rise of central bank digital currencies, and the explosion in real-world asset tokenization are all creating massive tailwinds for assets like XRP that are built for this new financial architecture. We are talking about trillions of dollars of value looking for a home on-chain over the next decade. When I started this journey, I was a skeptic. Now I'm a convert. The market cap multiplier is, in my opinion, the single most important and most misunderstood dynamic in crypto today. We've seen the hard proof in Bitcoin's 74x multiplier post-ETFs. We've seen the official validation from the Bank for International Settlements, and we've seen the absolutely stunning 200 to 650x multiplier effect in XRP's own market data. The path forward is becoming clearer. The convergence of regulatory clarity, institutional vehicles like ETS, and fundamental global financial shifts are creating a perfect storm. The question is no longer if significant capital will flow into this ecosystem, but when and with what force. And as we've learned today, that force will be multiplied. I didn't make this video to give you financial advice. I made it to share my own discovery process and to give you the same tools and data that the institutions are using. The informational asymmetry in this market is shrinking, and those who understand these deeper mechanics will be the best prepared. If this breakdown multiplied your perspective, then do me one small favor. Smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives like this. I want to build a community of the most informed investors in the space. Drop a comment below. What was your biggest aha moment from this video? I read every single one. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.
And you guys, I have a special trick for you, which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BuyDefi exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus. And now stay with me here. Now here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange and you move it to your newly created BuyDefi account, you get on top of your capital, you moved another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, if you move or deposit a 10K to your account, you get 1K for free. And here is why this is possible. BuyDefi makes money on trading fees. The more capital you have, the more you trade. The more you trade, the more they earn. So they're literally investing in your trading activity by giving you extra capital up front. And unlike other platforms where bonuses are in the 1 to 3% range, BuyDefi's bonus is a full 10%. I am not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody is doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I kindly ask you to pause this video and take your time to make an account. You can thank me later in the description of this video.